As a realtor, what does it mean to actually build a community, something a business is going to last forever and give you a foundation, not only for now, but 10 years from now? Does it mean going to every single networking event? Does it mean you go into the schools whenever you don't have kids? And what has actually changed within our industry? The changing of the guard. Our broker is going to break down for you along with our president, and we're going to have a great conversation today. So make sure you stay tuned. Let's get into it. Like we were saying, whenever it comes to community events, I think it's very important for us to actually focus on it, right? Because we do have a different background depending on where you're coming from. So networking events doesn't necessarily mean going out to other realtor events, right? Or even things that are in the industry or outside of your town, 10 to 15, 20 minutes away. I think it's super important for us to actually focus on, and something that you guys teach us is about nurturing your community in your area. So what are some things that we actually focus on here at Lionsgate Realty when we're talking to our realtors, or even just as business owners in general, like for you to nurture your area? What does that look like?
If I could do like a big eye roll every time I hear the word networking, just because I feel that people do it wrong. You think of networking, you immediately think of like bar, drinks, free food. I don't know, whatever you're thinking networking is. That's not what it is. I'm sure of it. Networking is building your network, meeting people, and you don't have to do it over drinks. You don't have to do it over small bites. There's a bunch of different ways to network, right? And the goal is to use what's available to you in order to network. It doesn't matter if you're involved in school and you want to go that avenue. It doesn't matter if you're involved in business and you want to go in that avenue. It doesn't matter if you're involved in church or extracurriculars. If you want to build it that way, that's how you can build it. It's all about your network and your access and how you I don't think the word is exploit, but how you maximize your network, right? And I think people get that confused a lot. They immediately think of networking and they think drinks at the bar, small bites, and it's not that.
I think that networking is tough now, and the one key thing that nobody ever really thinks about when it comes to networking is that nobody likes outsiders. Okay, because the key word is usually community, right? And that's what you always say, community outreach. Community outreach is where you live, where you're from, your people. Not for you to go to, the other side of town and start, promoting yourself in a place where nobody knows you, And that's what happens with networking. If you're part of any kind of networking where, you weren't invited, first of all, where it's just some kind of flyer that you got or some kind of Instagram post that you saw, right? And somebody there is telling you how good you would be at flipping homes or building homes, right? When you've been a nurse your whole life, or you've worked you've worked in the refineries your whole life, then that's not a networking event. That's actually is actually people taking advantage of you.
It's a money grab.
It's a money grab, and there's that's not what we talk about when we say community, when we say networking, when we say find your niche and find your people.
And one thing that sorry to cut you off, Flor, but one thing that like for me personally, I'm 32. I don't have kids. I don't have a wife. I don't even have a girlfriend, right? For me, whenever it comes to networking or to get involved with community events, sometimes a little bit harder for me because I'm like, okay, well, where do I actually fit in? And especially like on my side of town, the stuff that I personally like to do, like go to jazz night, like there's no jazz night in Baytown, right? So like certain things that I personally like to do and try to involve myself within my community, right? Like find your people. How would you recommend, now that I have my game plan, but somebody who's in the same position as me, a millennial, doesn't necessarily have a network, doesn't have kids or nothing like that, how can they start building that within their community without feeling like, oh, well, how can I go to a school if I don't have kids and try to build something within the school?
Yeah.
I feel like for that, something that you can do is just find like a common ground. Look for something that you like. Because if you go to like a networking event where you have probably like not even no knowledge of, what the event is or things like that, like the people can be really cold. And you need to find that common ground for that warm like conversation to start, so it can be like easier to flow.
I'm going to tell you straight out, if you don't have kids, stay away from schools. If you don't have any kids, then you have no business at schools. Try to find where the teachers go. Okay, so if there's some kind of event or some kind of thing that they're putting together outside of the school for teachers, then yes, you can sponsor those, or you can do whatever you want, right? As far as donating money to the school, but actually going to the school and you don't have kids, that's kind of weird, in my opinion. I don't know. I don't have kids no more, but I had kids.
I don't think you can leave the effort at schools if you don't have kids. I've made a push for a lot of my agents that have children to be involved in their schools and to help and to contribute, and for us to put our best foot forward there for sure. Because if the kids are successful, then we'll be successful, and obviously they're the future and all that good thing. But now that my kids are in school, I fought with agents here at our company that I was like, you shouldn't go to those events, and they were upset, and even complained to Nate, I was like, bro, I don't care. I don't think you should be at a school. I don't think that what are you gonna go do there? And I fought with multiple agents, across years. And now that my kids are in school, I feel even more strong about it. I feel strongly about it. But it goes back to building community and how you do that, right?
Hold on. I feel like that it depends, big, because like let's say if you are still living in a community where you grew up, like where you went to school, and there's teachers still teaching in there, where teachers that basically taught you, and you have a really really great relationship with one of those teachers, and that teacher makes you feel like welcomed, why not?
So you see, that's different. If you're sought out for whatever you do,
okay,
right? That's a different story. If they say, hey, you know what, Nate, you're an alumni of XYZ, school, and we want to show the kids how to be successful, or that people from here can be successful, that's a different story. You could go in as a speaker. You could go in donating things. You're invited by that school because of what you do. But if you're trying to market your own community, right, and you want to start going to school and try to meet people when you have no kids,
forcing your way into the event versus being invited into the
event.
Yeah. And I think that's why the last event that we did together, I was super excited until I checked last minute, and it was in Liberty, not in Baytown. It was San Jacinto Elementary, and I was like, oh, that's where I went. And I even told Nate. I went to San Jacinto. Yeah, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. We got approved to be vendors because of Flor. But I thought it was the one in Baytown and ended up being in Liberty. However, she had a great turnout. Yeah. But that's because a lot of the people already knew you there, so it made it even easier, right? So, yes, I do agree with that. If you're an alumni from there and they want to bring you in as a speaker or to what's the name of that? Sponsor something, like one of the teams, I think that's perfectly fine. But you trying to work your way into an event at the school, I do see how that comes off as weird.
And it's a double-edged sword, to address Florida. There's jokes on the internet about like the guys that or like girls or guys that graduate high school and then like don't leave it alone, and they just want to linger and they want to be around and they want to be whatever. I was fortunate enough to get 2 Letterman jackets, one from Klein Forest and Klein Collins. But I can't even put those things on. Like, I don't even care. Like, there's no way. I'll go to the events. I get invited. My friend's little brother, varsity quarterback at the high school that we graduated from. And I would never wear my jacket over there to be, like, it's just weird, But now that my kids are in school, it's different. It's a different, pride thing. And back to Nate's, we've been invited. I've been invited for the alumni. I was on the math team. We did a bunch of things in school, thankfully. And I was able to grow up in that same district that I was in. I went to elementary, middle school, and high school in that same area. And, all my friends are still there. A lot of the teachers that are there. I mean, the principal of my kid's school was my middle school principal. I mean, we know so much in the community, and it feels better now than it has these last 15 years since I graduated high school.
I've never been invited to anything because I never excelled at anything at school. So, I would never be at a school doing anything. And not even when my kids went to school, I went to the school. I mean, I would forcefully go down there just for like donuts for dads or whatever. But I just think that networking in the school to me, is really not something that I'm interested in doing or like doing. The reason is that, and this is something that, I'm always at odds with my business partners and some of my associates, right? They're like, hey, I want to donate backpacks. I want to donate this. I want to donate that. And I'm like, no, I said, I'm not really interested in doing that. A lot of times, what you want to do is find out who really needs the help, and you won't find that out until after, school starts. Hey, you know what? There's this kid in my school and he doesn't have anything, and you donate some clothes to that kid, donate something to the kid to help him out, But it should be, in my opinion, right? And that's the way I look at things. It should be out of your own heart, It shouldn't be, setting up a freaking tent and handing out backpacks to anybody and everybody just to say, hey, look, I'm helping the community, because that's not helping the community. Helping the community is actually finding the people that really need the help in the community.
And another thing that I wanted to mention was actually making the ask to be a part of an event. For example, the gym that I go to had an event recently, and I constantly was asking them for like 4 weeks straight about me being a part of the event. Even though the vendors, I didn't get one of the vendor tables, but sometimes you have to continue to ask. And it's very important for you to build the relationships with the owners. That's one thing that Vick, always taught us, and something that I'm just starting to put into play. Before, I would have never even talked to owners. I would just put my request in and wait for them to talk to me. This time I did make a push for it, right? And I think it's very important for you to make that ask once you've already had the relationship. And on this one, I was kind of playing on the back end because I never even thought about an event at a gym. But now that this is something that's possible, and now I see why it's important to have those relationships prior to even making the ask. And I think a lot of times that's probably what hinders agents, especially if they're not as social, is that they go up to somebody and like, oh, I feel like I'm asking before I gave anything to the relationship.
Yeah, and in any relationship, you got to build value, right? You have to provide value. And it has to be mutual. I think that we're all grown and we're all adults and we all have a busy life and we have a lot of things to do. And you have to give value in order for people to feel value from you, right? And why that's important is no one's ever going to call you if they don't have a reason to, right? So you got to give them that reason. You got to build value. You got to be a source of information. You have to be somebody that they feel that they can lean on when that time comes. And what are we good at? We're good at real estate. And what do we want people to call us for? Real estate advice and for real estate help. And we want them to use us, right? So we have to make those things clear at every turn. We're not here for free. We're not here for free information. We're not here to get used, right? We're here to be useful and we're here to make money. And as long as we are clear on our expectations, there's no reason why, somebody wouldn't want to build that relationship with you.
So I know everybody knows my stance on it, but I would like to hear like from somebody else or from you guys what your stance is on it or how you feel about it. But we have I call him the serial networker, right? I mean, this guy is everywhere and anywhere, like literally pops up in any freaking networking event. And we talked to him and say, hey, you know what? Why are you even here? Why are you coming to this event? This event has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with anything. Oh, I want to learn and I want to meet people and I want to meet thousands and thousands of people. And it's like how do you guys feel about that? That just going to any and every single freaking networking event, meeting people and sometimes even the same people over and over and over.
I mean, I guess it depends to what end, right? Like, to what end are you going to these events for? Like, what's the purpose? Because I mean, if you're just going to go have fun, have free drinks and have free food, I mean, that's an end, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it just depends, like, what is the agenda? What are they trying to do? Are they actually trying to build a network, or they're just trying to go out and have fun on somebody else's dime? I think that's an important question because you can do that for sure in this industry.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I feel like if you're not going in with the clear purpose of what you're gonna get out of that meeting, of that networking or that event, anything, I mean, why just go and waste your time? And I feel like this person that it's every single time in every single event is just going with the mentality that, oh yeah, I just want to show that I'm busy. And what does busy really mean? Like, is it bringing you business just because you're present at every single event? I mean,
I'll give a whole different perspective on this, and this is not like that. Real estate is a lonely business. It's a lonely game, right? And when you don't have a community within the brokers that you're with, or you haven't been accepted within the people that you're doing business with, right? Because maybe it is just business and maybe they don't like to socialize, which happens often, right? Then you need to find your community and you need to find that camaraderie somewhere, right? And sometimes it's fun to see familiar faces. Sometimes it's fun to be missed. Sometimes it's fun to be wanted to be there, right? And whether you're wanted or not, like just like a friendly hi or a hello or a hug or a handshake, like does a lot for like the morale. Like, oh, okay, there's people here. I'm not by myself. We're all struggling. We're all going through it, or whatever it is, right? So I think people get a lot of different things from those events. And to Jovani's answer is like, as long as whatever your objective is, right? And my objective at some of the places that I go to is strictly for friendship, strictly for camaraderie. It's not for anything else other than, hey man, it's good to see somebody away from work that I can have a conversation with about something else, and I can just disconnect a bit.
That makes a lot of sense. But I don't go to. If you ever see me at a realtor networking event, it's because I was personally invited by the organizer, or it's something that I organized. And even when I'm personally invited, sometimes I don't go because I have something else that I have to do. But I do go to other networking events that are not in my industry. But my sole purpose for that is to meet people that I want to turn into clients, into investors. And that's where you find them, And so I'll go to these. You'll see me at other events, but it's never trying to get free drinks or free food or buying into some BS that they're trying to sell at this event. It's always with the purpose.
Yeah, and like going back to what I was saying about, what is your purpose? What is your reasoning? Me personally, I started going to paid events recently, and it's for the purpose of me working on my soft skills. It's like I feel like I'm not that much of a personable person. So me putting myself in an environment that I don't usually go to is forcing me to talk to people. It's making me work on my soft skills versus my hard skills, what I'm good at within real estate, the negotiating side, the contract side. I'm good at those, but talking to people is something that I've always avoided. And now for me to go to that next level in business, I know that I need those soft skills, right? Because the connections is what's going to take you to that next level. You can only work so hard for so long and not expect to, to break through. So for me, it's for me to go out there, meet more people, put myself in an uncomfortable situation of having to talk to different people that I never talked to. And I put it myself in a place to where it's not free. I go to paid ones because I feel like those are more serious. People are actually there for a purpose, or they're there to have fun for something that they enjoy, something that you can connect on. Mm-hmm. So that's personally like one of the things that I've been going for. It was not necessarily to meet other clients, but it's just to work on my personal development, my soft skills.
I feel like personally, like this year, like in general, I have been more focused than before, just concentrating like myself and putting my time in my community, like doing more like little events, like at the school where my kids are, just like their little soccer league and stuff like that. I started to run like or like little park in our town. And I feel like that, even though like I'm not personally engaging into a lot of conversations with people, has brought like a lot of warmth to me, like around the community in general. Because like yesterday I went to an event there, and a lot of the people that runs in the morning like was there at the school with the kiddos, and everyone was like, oh hi, like you're here, I didn't know your kid was here. Little things like that I feel like has definitely changed the way I started to have more conversation with my community in general. Like just seeing a familiar face, like Jovani saying, and Nate saying, like definitely makes an impact on how people like sees you. They feel like they know you.
Exactly. And I feel like this is the most important part of the community building, is the building the community without forcing it, meaning without throwing the event. You actually being in the community, going to different restaurants in the area, going in different parts, people seeing you, you're out there with your merch. And by the time they see you at an actual event, they're like, oh, I've seen her run at this park, or I've seen her at this restaurant. I've seen Jovani at this bar get a little too tipsy before, right? So it's like they know you. Like in Baytown, that's what I'm known for, right? So they know you, and that's whenever they'll feel more comfortable to go up and talk to you and ask you about real estate, because they feel like, okay, well, this is actually a community member.
Yeah, and that's the whole goal of the SCP frameworks, and it's building that recognition and creating authority in that way. Through your community, the areas that you shop in, the areas that you work out in, the areas that you do business in, they start to build that recognition, and then you are the expert because they're going to see the goal is they see you in their mailbox, they're going to see you online, and they're going to see you in person, and then they're going to start seeing your signs because you're getting listings and you're working, and you're going to create that authority just in their mind. Oh man, she's working, she's out there, they're doing this, and that is the goal of SCP frameworks, which is a whole network marketing, sphere of influence marketing.
And I was watching a video the other day. We were talking about how earpods are killing our communication and our ability to network out in public, informal networking, right? So one thing that I started doing, anytime that I'm walking around in downtown, I don't walk around with my AirPods in no more. I don't have my AirPods in while I'm eating like I used to back in the day. Or even like whenever I told you like a certain lounges that I go to, I would go work and put my AirPods in. Now I have them off and I'm just working on my laptop. I'm listening to my surroundings, seeing if there's a way for me to work myself into a conversation. Or if people will invite you. If you have your AirPods in and they want to know your opinion, they're not going to ask you because they feel like they're bothering you, because they feel like you're focused on something else, because you are. So little things like that to involve yourself even more within your community needs to take place. And a lot of this stuff is like a lost art where you have to talk to like older sales guys who used to do certain tricks in order to work them way into conversations. Like that's, even though it's old, like we have to bring that back, and people who practice this are going to be able to build like networks and build connections way better than anybody else who's trying to do it through social media or, you know, just video or regular marketing in general.
Yeah. I mean, that's where my passion from the school came from. When I started new home sales, I was taught by one of my sales managers that I need to go meet the principals and I need to go establish the ratings for the school so I can better sell that to my customers. And I've always taken that portion of it very serious, and I was able to win over a lot of clients just based on schools. And on the retail side, it is no different. People need reassurance, and they need to know that they're moving into a good area, and they need to have that confidence. And if they have family and you know the principal and you know the schools and you know what you're doing, then you're able to make that connection. And you can say, hey, you can talk to Miss whatever she's the principal. I'll put you in an email with him. And then you get invited to other events. You get invited to sponsor, you know, and we did that. I did that through the builder. You know, it was very fruitful for me, and that's why I've brought in this into my real estate business, because it is a success and it is important. So community and network could be worked in any way, right? You just have to make your decision and be clear in your objectives.
And I think this is one thing that a lot of people don't really take into consideration whenever they're jumping into real estate. They see the houses, they see the freedom, they see the money, but everything that's going to get you that is the community side of it. Like without your community, without your network, you can only work so hard. Like I've seen realtors work so hard to make a $1,200 check versus realtors who don't work hard at all and they're making $20,000 checks. But those realtors that don't work hard, they worked hard in the relationship building aspect to where these people trust them. So it seems like they're not working hard when they're actually out in the field.
Yeah.
And this is like the misconception of sweat equity, which I'll always preach, right? Because I say that I'm a workhorse, that I work nonstop, but that's not where the money's at least not here, because you don't get paid hourly.
I saw a comedian on Instagram. I wish I could tag him. You know, if y'all know, then y'all can tag him. But nothing to do with community, but it's reminding me about that he says, you have, my parents, they divorced when I was like a year old, like 7 days old. He's like, and I should be over it because I'm 36 years old now. And then he's like, and I know you feel that way. I should get over my family trauma because I'm 36 years old. He's like, but if you build a building on a bad foundation and you're on the 36th floor, are you going to get over it, or would you feel more comfortable when you're younger? And I just thought it was funny because it's the same thing with realtors that come in to our business. They've built their business on a bad foundation, and the years just keep accumulating, right? And they keep getting higher and higher and higher. And they start to feel like, I've been in real estate for 10 years and I know how to do this and how to do that. But they were never taught the right foundation. So they're working 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times as hard as my agents. They were taught correctly and built that foundation great and aren't as stressed and are able to disconnect. And we encourage it. Now, we don't encourage you guys to go take time off just because you want to. We encourage you to take earned time off and work for it and set that plan and take that risk and that expectation. There's expectation goals and everything that we set up for you. As long as you hit those, then we're good. And that all comes from the foundation and the business that you're building, and to give you that ability and that comfort to take time off. And a lot of agents don't have it.
And one thing that we were having a conversation about a while back was that realtors, you were saying the ones who are successful right now in this current market are the ones that have an abundance mindset versus the ones who don't. And I always disagreed with that because I feel like every realtor, quote unquote, has an abundance mindset. But what I've started to pay attention to is realtors who make real estate hard versus realtors who make real estate fun and easy. The ones who make it hard for themselves. The clients feel that stress and it makes the whole deal hard, right? So now they're stressed out about 1 or 2 deals versus the realtors who kind of like just roll with the punches. Everything rolls up. Don't worry about it. We're going to get this done. Keep the energy high, make the clients feel comfortable, and their emotional side of it, they keep it bottled up or they distress however they want to. Everybody else feels that within the room or their clients, and it just continues to snowball. So I think it has not necessarily to do with abundance, which you could be right on that aspect, but the realtors I see that make it fun and easy, it seems like all the deals work out good. But it's just because they don't necessarily double down on the bad side. They're focused on the good side. They're focused on the wins versus the losses.
Yeah.
And that just keeps energy high.
And when we say abundance mindset, we talk about the business is going to happen regardless, right? Don't let this one deal that fell apart, that maybe you did waste a lot of time on, that maybe you are emotionally attached to. I'm not saying that you're wrong on feeling all those things. What I'm saying is that you're wrong on letting that hinder you from doing good for somebody else. Right? You're bringing your baggage from something else into a new relationship or a new transaction, and you shouldn't do that. You should be very business focused. And hey, this one worked out. This one didn't work out, but this one will. And you treat everyone like a new client, and everyone is a new opportunity, a new experience for everyone that you speak to. And you don't want to bring in that baggage. You don't want to start it off on the wrong foot or be bad, right? And I would say there's a double-edged sword for that. I have this feeling that I can fix every problem, everything.
Same.
I never feel like I'm gonna like I'm gonna miss. I never feel like I'm gonna fail. I've always been able to pull through at the last minute, sometimes by the skin of my teeth, and I always feel like everything's in control. This year, 2025 has taught me that I'm not in control of a lot of things, and there are some things that I cannot control. There's been death, there's been new beginnings, there's been a lot of things for me this year that were really hard. And it made me realize that I can't fix everything, and I got to just step back. And that's helping me in real estate too. It's helping me be a little more proactive than what I'm used to being, right? And this is why we say there's always change in business. Life events happen, things happen, and you learn from. And you should continue to learn. We're still learning. So I'm learning to be proactive. I'm learning to put my, knowing that I can't control everything. So I control what I can, and what I can, I just gotta let it go.
It comes with Vick's favorite word, humility.
I hate that word.
Why?
Humbly I accept.
Yeah.
One thing that I've been talking to my realtors about recently is that because we are in that change, right? We are starting to see some deals fall, not necessarily within our brokerage, but we're hearing realtors talk about, oh man, I was so close to closing this one, it just fell apart out of nowhere. I started talking to my realtors about, you need to start celebrating the little wins within the deal. You get past the option period, you negotiate, awesome. Celebrate with your client. Make them, because they're probably feeling stressed about that section, make them feel good about it. I just had an appraisal come in, $40,000 above our asking price. And the realtor I was like, you don't seem happy about that. Like, what's going on? Like, oh, well, I don't want to celebrate until it's done. And like, I get it. You don't want to count your money until it's in your bank, but this is a win. Like, go tell your client, hey, look, we negotiated awesome. You got $40,000 in equity. Yeah. Like, this is dope. Make them feel better. So if something does fall apart, you've gotten them, their emotions so high up that coming down just a little bit doesn't affect them versus them being all the way down here. And then it's another thing. They're just like, screw it. I just want to get out.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is that, a lot of, I always tell the realtors, hey, getting your client from the contract to the closing table is work. You have to continuously keep going, and I remember we used to have some realtors, they would do the contract and then they would just be the whole time, oh, it's going to close, it's going to close. Yes, it's going to close. Make sure that it closes. Keep talking to these people. Keep following up. Check on the deal. Check on everything. Don't just sit there and wait for the date to come and see if you're going to get a check. This is not a surprise. And like you were saying, we've been interviewing a lot of realtors, and we have a few new realtors. And they come from other brokerage and stuff, and these are realtors that have been killing it, right, during the whole pandemic, and now they're scared. They're looking for help. They're looking for guidance, and so they come here, they start learning new things, and you're telling them to do things, and they're like, how do I do that? And you're like, what? I said, that's the most basic thing that you could learn here, And that's the problem, a lot of these people just came in freaking swinging home runs, and now that you have to get some base hits and that you have to, take a couple of bunts, they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to do the essentials, the basics.
Mm-hmm. My man's been watching some baseball. That's all I like to. That's all I like to hear.
I was about to say,
the stadium's right
here. Yeah, we're right across.
I've been learning it, man. Yeah.
Nah.
But going back to what Nate says, like right now, one thing that I am seeing a lot is that having to work to bring a deal from beginning to close for some realtors seems like that's too much versus just putting them under contract, going on to the next one. Like the work in between seems like too much for them to where they feel like they're giving up. And I'm like, bro, this is just a hurdle. Like you're going to cross it over. Just wait for you to negotiate this, wait to get them from point A to point B. Like you just got to figure it out. And that just figuring it out is crazy to me that most realtors are like, oh, that's too hard. Like what? Like work is too hard? Like that's nuts to me.
The thing is this, and so like there's a realtor that she closed a lot of deals, right? For I think 2020, 2021, it was something like outrageous for a new agent to close. And so then I sat there and I asked, I said, hey, you closed this many deals. How many did you lose? And that's the problem. She lost more deals than what she closed that year. And so what ends up happening is that, now if she has a deal and she can't get that deal closed, she feels like I'll never find another one because the pipeline is very small for her now.
I was going to say on that, I feel like older realtors, or not older realtors that have been in the industry for longer period of times, I don't know what's happening like this year in particular, but I feel like they have a cloud on them. Like they feel so lost. Like closed some deals recently with agents that have been in the market for probably more than 7, 8, 10 years. And they're just like lost. Like they don't know how to like handle market, like this year's market in particular. I don't know what is the reasoning behind that.
They have been through so many market changes that they're jaded. They're like, all right, I'm done. This is it. I'm not going through another slump. Because we have gone through at least 6 or 7 that I could think of off the top of my head. And they're like, all right, I'm 45, I'm 50, I'm done. I don't want to do this no more, And the reason is, just like Vic said, they never started right. They literally just got on the wave, it came down, got on the wave, came down, got on the wave, came down, and then you just get to a point where you're too dang old to get on another wave. You're like, I'm done.
And this is my message to young agents is the older agents are getting tired. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
The contracts changed. Now they have to sign buyer's representation agreements that they don't know how to do. They don't know how to ask for the money. They don't know how to be salespeople, which they have to be. And they don't know what they're doing. And right now, we knew there was going to be a mass exodus of a lot of the older agents that are leaving. There was a change into the guard. Mm-hmm. And Nate had been saying that for a couple of years. I honestly, not that I didn't, believe Nate, I just didn't see how it would happen. And now that all these changes have come about, and now that I'm watching these agents struggle, it's happening and it's going to continue to happen. So you younger agents that feel that you don't have a leg to stand on or feel that you don't know how to do business, this is your time. This is your time to make the most money and to learn to do this business the right way, right? And if you do a real estate transaction the right way, it should go by so fast. It shouldn't feel like 30 days are taking forever because you have option periods. And then after option period, you're waiting for appraisal. And then after appraisal, you're waiting for the closing title commitments to come out, surveys being ordered and things like that. Those 3 weeks, 4 weeks actually go by so fast. If you do your job right and you have your updates, you should be updating and talking to your clients at least 2-3 times a week. Mm-hmm. And if you're doing it right, the transaction goes fast, the transaction goes smooth, and you look professional. You're doing better than the older agents, and you're going to win.
And like Vic said, I've been preaching this, right? And I know it seemed like I was doing like a doomsday countdown, but I've been preaching this for years. I've been saying, hey, things are changing. Things are going to change. It's not going to happen. We can't sustain this too much longer. Stop buying into these things. Stop buying into Zillow. Stop buying into this MLM brokerages. They're going to hurt our industry. Nobody listened. Everybody wanted to go. It was all for themselves, And so now it's gotten to a point where it's like, you have to be a salesperson. And that's why, and I even had pushback, a little bit of pushback, not too much pushback, but some of my agents were pushing back. Oh, I paid my dues, to be a realtor. I'm like, okay, well, realtors what got us where we're at now, mm-hmm. Be a salesperson. Be a salesperson, learn this business, and learn how to sell, learn how to close. Because at the end of the day, you're selling a home. Would you not want to hire somebody who knows how to sell if you're selling a home? Doesn't make sense. And so yeah, it's just, everybody's too caught up with licenses, too caught up with, titles, too caught up with, being popular on Instagram, too caught up with everything to sit down and realize exactly what we do here. What we do here is we sell and we make money off commission. And I've always been upfront with that since I started in this business. My services aren't free. And the thing is that a lot of people always wanted to skirt around it and not talk about it and keep it out of the conversation and just sell themselves, right? But they were still selling, not even knowing they were salespeople, you know? So it's just, it's a different time. And like I said, I'm not a psychic and I'm not anything. I just, just from being in the sales industry so long, I can see things coming. I can see, and I keep up with, the politics of my industry, because that's my industry. And I want to know what's happening. This big old merger that just happened is going to affect us. You might think it's not. It is. It's going to affect us. And I have several, I've already said several ways that it's going to affect us, right? And people, they don't care. It's what's in it for me. I don't care what's in it for the industry as a whole. And if you don't have that mindset of being in a community of realtors, right? Then there's no way you can market your community. There's no way you can give an impact in your community that's worth anything,
And with those last two gems, we're going to go ahead and close out this podcast. I'm going to let you guys exit. We'll start with Flor, and then we'll work our way around the room.
This is Flor Velasquez with Lionsgate Realty. You can find me in all my social media as Flor Velasquez Realtor.
My name is Victorino Cortez. I am the president here at Lionsgate Realty. We are hiring. We are recruiting. I'm looking to grow. We have space for you now.
My name is Nate Balderas. I am the master broker for Lionsgate Realty. You can find me on all my social media outlets at Better Call Nate.
I'm Jovani, your gracious host right here at the Lionsgate Realty Podcast. Don't know, we have an official name for it just yet. You can find us every single week on Thursday on YouTube. Follow us on all our social media accounts. You can follow me personally at Jovani East HTX. Until next time.